Vyaptam yen characharam tatpadam darshidam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jnanatimidandasya jnananjanam Sake chakshurmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahm Tasmai Sri Gurave. So as I discussed in the morning, we will do a little bit of another Upanishad which is relevant to our search. So it's what we are trying to find. This is also one of the Principle Upanishads, and it's called the Mandukya Upanishad. Manduk in Sanskrit means a frog. So is it meant for frogs or for human beings? Or like somebody said, it was written by a rishi who was Mandukya Rishi, but I don't think there was any rishi called Mandukya Rishi. I asked Maheshwarnath Babaji, why is this such a prominent, one of the most important Upanishads named after a frog? The Mandukya Upanishad. So I can tell you what he told me. He said that the truth is truth. It doesn't matter where it comes from. He said that the appearance of the teacher is not very important. What is being taught is more important. So if the rishi looks like a frog, that doesn't mean anything. That is one explanation. The other, he said, was because the frog, among the known creatures, common creatures, is the one that goes through what is called metamorphosis. First it's a little tadpole in the water. Then it becomes a frog, drops its tail and becomes a frog. And once it becomes a frog, it can live in the water. It can also live on land. The tadpole can live only in water. So he said it is a sign of a person who has understood the truth, that he can live in this world and still keep his mind in the truth. It makes no difference whether he lives in water or whether he lives on land. So, the Mandukya Upanishad it is the shortest of the Upanishads we have, of the Principle Upanishad, and it has only 12 verses. Only 12. And in these 12 verses, there is no description of any practice. There is no description of chakras. There is no description of kundalini. There is no description of what we should do or what we should not do. It merely examines the states of consciousness through which all human beings go through, except one. One is speculated upon, the rest are known. So, which means, since all human beings have these states of consciousness, and therefore these are common to all human beings, therefore it is a universal message. It is not meant for one particular section or community. It's a universal message because all of us have the states of consciousness except one, that also we don't know, which have been described in the Upanishad. So, the normal explanation of Om is that it is split into 3 syllables. We all know that, many of us know. A, U, and Ma, completing O. So, A means the beginning or creation. O, continuing what has been created. And Om, when you close your mouth, finishing of that which was created. destruction. So it represents the deities Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwar, creation, preservation and destruction. This is the normal general explanation given to Om, true. In fact, some clever guy said it also means God because generator, operator and destroyer. So some people are very clever at picking up words. But anyway, so then the Mandukya Upanishad describes Om in a different way. Actually, it starts with a description of Om. And in this, the first sound, is considered to be the waking state of consciousness which is common to all human beings. Because is the simplest syllable you can utter. When you wake up, before you form a word, you will still say ha. So is a representation of the waking state of consciousness which is common to all human beings. I think you know what is waking. Are we awake? Okay. So, then that we need not examine much. We know what it is, waking state. Although we think we know, I don't think we know much, but whatever we know what is waking state. When dream, after sleep, I wake up and see the world. It's very interesting. The first thing I understand is that I exist. Why? Because I open my eyes and see the world before me and I say, oh, I live in this world. And then after me come you and others and so on. It multiplies. This is the waking state. And in the waking state, we are a child, then we grow up, and in the waking state, we die. This is our waking state. The Upanishad calls it Jagrata Avastha, state of Jagrat. Then, U represents, now this state is very interesting. The Upanishad calls it Tejasa or Swapna. Swapnavastha. Again, common to all human beings. Night dreams, also daydreams, both. But here it refers to the night dream in the night. And then it's called Swapna. Why is it called Tejasa? Because when you sleep, your eyes are shut and everything is dark, but you see the dreams as if you're seeing it in light. So it is self-illumined, therefore called Tejasa. Now, waking, we don't have to worry too much. We kind of know what waking state is. Dream needs good thought, deeper thought, because it's a very, very interesting state. Why? Because while you're dreaming, actually dreaming, you don't think it's a dream, you think it's a real state. Right? It's so real that even when you wake up, you still think it was real for some time. If you go to sleep here, especially in Pench, it's a wildlife resort, you go to sleep and you dream that somehow a tiger has entered your room, opened the door, and you're running down the stairs, running. The tiger is running behind you, screaming. Somebody sleeping next door will hear you. Then you wake up. When you wake up, there is no tiger. No, right? There is no tiger. But your heart rate is high. You are still perspiring. Sometimes you are still screaming. And you are looking behind to see if the tiger is behind you. Why? Because it is so real. In dream it is real. Even in waking up, it's not fully gone. It's somewhere there in the memory. And when you are dreaming, it's actually real. When you wake up, it's not real. It's gone. So now, when you're dreaming, you will never admit that it is a dream, right? You will say that in the dream, suppose I come in the dream and say, hey, you're dreaming, and say, oh, shut up, I'm actually seeing you. But when you wake up, you know it's a dream. So therefore, in the dream, Swapna Avastha, you will not believe it's a Swapna, right? So now we think we are in Jagrati Avastha. What if this were also a long Swapna? What if? If I tell you now, you'll say, no, 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 it is real. So is there a waking up from this? Perhaps there is a waking up from this long drawn dream. When you wake up and say, oh my God, what a long dream. You say that now, they'll say, no, how can this be? It's real. Say that in the dream and see. It's real. So this dream is a very interesting, it is real and it is not real. So it is relatively real, not absolutely real. Right? The only difference between dream and waking state is that the waking state has a continuum. Like Sudha wakes up and she is still Sudha, right? Continues. But in the dream, she may go to sleep as Sudha and wake up as Bharati or somebody. Right? But here it continues. Dream, it changes. Every dream, it can change. That is the only difference. Apart from that, it's as real as a waking state. You feel pain, you feel pleasure, you feel everything. Even some people have woken up thinking they have died in the dream. So, the great sage Janaka of Vidya went to sleep. He was a king, you know that. He was an emperor. And he dreamt that he was a beggar. No food, torn clothes, begging for food. Then he woke up. His teacher Yajnavalkya, the great sage, came to see him. And he said, sir, please solve this problem for me. Am I a king or am I a beggar? Because I may be a beggar because if I had not woken up, and I would have continued to be a beggar. But now I wake up, I see that I am in the palace, sleeping in my beautiful bed. So which one is the real one? I really was suffering from pangs of hunger. Am I a beggar or am I a king? You only can answer this question. So the teaching is that Yajnavalkya says to him, look, my dear fellow, both are relatively real. Therefore, from my point of view, they are both unreal. Because they are relative, they are not absolute. But there is somebody who is witnessing all this, right? In dream, there is a witness. Waking, there is a witness. The witness is real, but the state is not real. Because without a witness, the state cannot happen. The witness is real. The witness doesn't change me looking at everything. But what I look at can change, what I experience. So, dream and waking state are relatively real, therefore absolutely unreal. While the witness in both states is real, who's watching. Okay, so two states. Then the Upanishad, Mandukya, equates the last syllable of Om, this is Ma, Om, with deep sleep, which in the Upanishadic terms is called Sushupti, deep slumber, which means dreamless sleep. There are no dreams. It's total sleep, which is called Sushupti. Now, this is also a very interesting state, the Sushupti. Why? Because we all go through it. Now, in Sushupti, suppose there is no dream, let's say, we are in deep sleep. In fact, we don't even know that we are sleeping. If we know we are sleeping, it can't be a deep sleep. You're lost. You're in deep sleep. There is no outside world. There is no dream. There is no inside world. There is no cognition outside. There is no. All this is written in the Upanishad. I'm not saying it. I'm just translating. There is no cognition outside, there is no cognition inside. There is not even a combination of outside and inside. There is nothing. When somebody goes to sleep, he may be the owner of the company or the chaprasi who works on the gate, both sleep. And in sleep, they are equal. One guy may be sleeping in a luxurious bed, the other guy may be sleeping on a plank. Sometimes I wonder if the guy on the plank is more comfortable than this. Because his life is day to day, he has nothing to worry if the company is going to collapse or what. Both sleep. And in sleep, both are equal. Just because I am working with somebody and somebody is the owner, makes no difference to sleep. Sleep is a great equalizer. And the reason why we feel rejuvenated after a good sleep, you know how important sleep is? Maximum medicine sold in medical shop is how to fall asleep. Right? You can't sleep. There are lots of people who can't sleep. Those who can sleep are lucky actually. I count myself into this. You just need some place to rest your head and you're gone. So, sleep, why do we feel relaxed and rejuvenated after deep sleep? The main reason is that we are not aware that we exist. Only when I am aware that I exist, I have the problems, right? I am bound, I want to be free. I am suffering. Somebody is jealous of me, somebody is angry. I don't even know I exist, so where is my problem? Nothing. And if I don't exist, you don't exist. I have to be there to see you, so that is also not there. So what? Complete rest. Total rest. Which is why we need sleep. Okay. But it seems that there is some witness even in deep sleep. How do I know? Because when I wake up, I say, oh, that was a blissful sleep. It was so blissful. There is a memory somewhere of that beautiful sleep I just woke up from. There is someone witnessing the sleep. But in deep sleep, I am not aware of that witness. When I am deeply, I don't know the witness. But when I wake up, the border state between waking up and sleeping, there is somebody who says, oh, that was so blissful. You know, when you sleep deeply, drugged or undrugged, when you sleep deeply, in the morning you might fix an alarm. How many times have you switched off the alarm 2 times, 3 times and gone back to sleep? Why? It's not worth waking up into this world. It's so blissful. Why would I get up? So I switch it off. Longer I get, the better, because I'm enjoying. You see, some enjoyer is there of this bliss. So if young people sleep, don't push and wake them up all night. Let them sleep. So, somebody is very happy there. So there is a witness. Now just imagine the situation where not after wake up, while you are still in deep sleep, the witness wakes up and says, that is called Turiya. Normally not possible. So, but unfortunately, you cannot reach Turiya through deep sleep. That is the problem. Otherwise, everybody go to sleep, Shushupti, Aram, say we will go. Not possible. If Turiya has to occur, it has to occur in the waking state. Now, what is Turiya then? Where there is only the witness and none of these other states. In its own nature, full of bliss, enjoying itself, not something else. Everybody likes to be like that, enjoying oneself, not anything else. But we think that enjoyment comes only from outside. Here it is self-sufficient bliss, which is called Satchidananda in the Vedanta. This blissfulness. Now what happens? Unfortunately, through Shushupti you cannot reach Turiya. That would have been very nice if we could. So we like Shushupti, but we don't like Turiya because we don't know what it is all about. Now why is it that is not possible to experience Turiya, although we can experience Shushupti? Or at least when we wake up, we can say we had a wonderful Shushupti. Because of the distractions of the mind, the desires of the mind, the conflicts in the mind. So the moment we go to sleep, these conflicts subside. The moment we wake up, they come back again. Suppose a person has freed herself or himself from these conflicts by saying that when I am in deep sleep, none of these things exist, so why the hell am I catching on to this? While you are still awake, you are free of all those compulsive desires that keep eating up your soul. When you are free of the grief that grips you while waking, understanding that it makes no sense, such a person, if he goes into Shushupti, the witness cleared of all these distractions shines forth in its pure form, then such a person in Shushupti is in Turiya, is not in Shushupti. I'm not saying you should all go to sleep, please. In Calcutta, we had a book launch, the Penguin book, which is on meditation, and senior Swamiji had come from somewhere. He said, say something, please say a few words. He said, yes, I want to say this. The most important attainment in life, as Sri Ram said, is deep sleep. I said, Swamiji, please, I didn't say that. So, yeah, of course, it is nice to sleep. But, so this waking up or Jagran actually means waking up in deep sleep and seeing that there is only consciousness and nothing else. Now, when the mind is freed of its distractions, then the mind naturally gets into that state of total fulfillment. This is why in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, we're coming slowly, yoga is defined as yogas chitta vritti nirodha. All the vrittis of the mind, when they are completely removed, then what remains is a state which may look very close to deep sleep, Sushupti, but is actually Turiya, where you reach the essence of your being, where you see the witness that witnesses everything but is not part of anything. This is the aim of yoga. So now, the Upanishad talks about all these lofty things. Theoretically, yes, we can grasp it. But a mind that can really grasp it practically needs to be freed from its distractions and conditionings, which is where yoga enters the picture. Kriya Yoga, any yoga. So, I'm sure many of you would have read the Bhagavad Gita. See, it's like this. Simply by saying, I am the Atman, you can keep repeating it. Nothing will happen. I am the Atman. Don't irritate me, give him a slap. I am the Atman. Does the Atman get irritated, first of all? So, to do that, you need something else. So, if you have read the Gita, in the end of every chapter, there is a very significant sentence. It describes what the Gita is. it says, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So this is the Bhagavad Gita. This much is clear, right? You don't have to be a Sanskrit Pandit to understand this. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So this is the Bhagavad Gita. And what is it about? Upanishads. It is the essence of the Upanishads. It is the Upanishads. And what does the Upanishad teach? Brahma Vidyayam. The knowledge of the Supreme Brahman. What is the next sentence? Yoga Shastre. Why? Because a mind that has not gone through Yoga Shastra cannot grasp the great truths of the Upanishads. Not intellectually, actually benefit from it. A mind which is always caught up in contradictions and tensions and disturbances and distractions, such a mind cannot reach Turiya. Such a mind cannot understand Brahma Vidya. Theoretically, yes. In which case, all the Pandits who know the Vedanta by heart should have attained moksha. See? And there are people who have read nothing who have attained moksha. Well, I had to understand these things because I was made to do it. Babaji said, tomorrow you will face Pandits, read. So therefore, to understand the essence of the Gita, which is an Upanishad, it is not enough to theoretically understand the concept of even Turiya, Sushupti and so on, but to be able to free the mind from its contradictions, compulsions, disturbances, obsessions. Where a mind that is free then discovers this. Which is the importance of yoga. Now, when you say yoga, don't mistake me, don't think that yoga means standing for 1 hour in Shirsasana or some such thing. Well, it is good for health, physical yoga, not 1 hour in Shirsasana, not good for health. Might get a brain hemorrhage if you are not careful. What I mean to say, while yoga is good for physical health, mind health and so on and so forth, what we are talking about is the yoga which is beyond the ordinary asanas. So what? Free? Free of what? Free of the mind. Can anybody tell me why we are discussing this matter? Oh?
Bhagavad Gita, it is Srimad Bhagavad Gita, so we will complete.
Therefore, the Upanishad says, the Ishavasya Upanishad says, to touch that point in your mind which is free of all contradictions and all, the best way described with Upanishad. Tena tyaktena bhunjita. Let go and rejoice. The let going is very difficult. Much of our vrittis, the vrittis in the mind, are because we are not able to let go. Letting go is so difficult. Not give up, letting go. If Radha, some years back when he met me, gave me one slap, well, he didn't. I'm just giving an example, poor fellow. Suppose he did. Now, how many years have passed? 15 years. He slapped me 15 years ago. He's not slapping me now. But can I let go of that slap? Sometimes people do terrible things to us. They're dead and gone, but we carry it in our heads. We're injured, so we want to get back. If not a slap, at least I'll give him a knock. 20 years I can wait for that. While that hurt becomes a festering wound and creates cancer in my system. But I won't let go of it. Upanishad says, let go. The moment you let go, you rejoice. There's nothing. What happens if he kicked me once? He's not kicking me now, right? Well, if he's kicking me now, then I have to find a way out. But this is our mind, the mind's character of sticking to the past and not letting go of it. So it practically prevents the present from coming in. And what is the present? The truth. If I can separate the hurt and look at Radha face to face, he is none other than the Brahman. But no, I will carry that impression with me. I will look at him only through those colored lenses. So, if we can even start practicing this in daily life, you're actually moving towards the truth of Vedanta. Not simply every day sitting down and saying, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, so what? Do we really know it? Or are we just muttering something? Tattvamasi, I am that. Somebody is saying, repeating, try to take the tea away in front of him. All Tattvamasi will disappear. Huh? I'm not saying that is wrong. I'm only saying that one needs to understand, realize, experience instead of just chanting. So whatever you have studied, whatever you have understood, the Upanishad says, in the crystal clear state where you set aside everything, it teaches you to set aside. Then flashes the reality. I want to tell you a story. There was a great scholar, very well respected scholar, called Ganapathy Shastrigal. Ganapathy Shastrigal was a very great poet and a great Vedantist and studied all the scriptures that you have available to us. He knew everything. He also did Sri Vidya. I'm saying this because suddenly I get confronted by people. Can you give me Sri Vidya? He did all that. He did the Agamas, he did the Vedas, he did the Upanishads. And he was a great poet. In fact, he was honored as Kavyakanta Ganapathy Shastrigal. But he felt that with all this, all his meditation, all his chanting, all his knowledge, there was some barrier that separated him from the truth. Although theoretically he knew it should be this. He was wandering around looking for someone who can find a solution for him. He went to many places. He was not satisfied. Then he went to, somebody told him that there is a yogi sitting in a cave in Tiruvannamalai. Ramana Maharishi was not well known at that time. His original name was Venkatramana. Somebody said, in the Skandashrama cave, there is a great yogi sitting. We think so. Go and find out for yourself. He doesn't come down. So he went there. And he saw him sitting. Have you ever seen a picture with Ramana Maharishi's eyes closed? Anybody? No. Because there is no inside or outside. The separation between the exterior and internal does not exist for him. So he was always, his eyes were open. So anyway, this guy went and sat in front of him. His eyes were open, but he was not looking at him. He was looking somewhere in the distance. No, eyes were not blinking. A long time he sat there. Now that you must give it to him. Anybody else would have said, what the hell, and go off. No, he said he waited patiently. Slowly his eyes focused on him. And you know that he was a man of few words, so he just put his hand up and did like this. It means what? Kya hai? Ganapathy Shastrigal was waiting for the cue, for somebody to ask, what do you want? He started off. He gave his entire biography, his autobiography, where he started his spiritual, what he read, what he studied, whole thing, it took quite some time. Agama, Sri Vidya, I've done nothing that he has not done, everything. And then he said, now what am I to do? There is still a barrier to the truth. What am I supposed to do? So patiently, after listening to him, not saying a word, Maharishi spoke 2 sentences. He said, can you keep quiet for a while? He said it in Tamil, Konja neram summa irukka mudiyuma. Can you just shut up for a while? He shut up. And he got the answer. And he was responsible for spreading the word that there is a great Maharishi sitting up. Why are you wasting your time? Go up and see him. Before that, nobody knew. He was just sitting there happily. There was one Kunjuswami who was assisting him, making little food for him. So ultimately, after studying everything, you need to understand only the essence of it. But for some people, the study is required, otherwise they will not go to the essence. If you say that, so there's ignorance, he doesn't know anything. But in the end, you come to a state where you don't know anything. When you don't know anything, what actually is shines forth. Now this is the Vedantic way. There are other ways. The great devotees or bhaktas, who generally don't have much knowledge of all these things, they just want to have a darshan of the deity or God or whatever they call it. They don't intellectualize, they don't like to break like Bhajagovindam. Shankara said, nahi nahi rakshati dukran karane. All these grammatical constructions are not going to help you. Bhajagovindam. So like that. They are people of the heart. They don't know any of these things. They may be simple villages somewhere. Suddenly an emotion possesses them, emotion of devotion. You cannot cultivate devotion. To cultivate it becomes a cultivated mechanical thing. Something that spontaneously emerges from some hearts. And it emerges because perhaps for many lives they have been looking for it. One day it breaks forth. You cannot control it. You cannot put it into any action. It is just there. It's from the heart. And it only yearns for the divine. This is what the other way, which is called Bhakti, where one is totally absorbed in that. One knows that any amount of intellectual understanding is not going to help. Even before they go into all this. The heart-to-heart connection is what is required. And this, what you call bhakti, cannot be cultivated. It dawns in some people's heart due to various reasons. Or it's possible that it comes into somebody's heart when they meet or see somebody who is absorbed in it or immersed in it. This is possible. It's like there is a magnet, and if you take a piece of iron close to the magnet, the iron becomes a magnet for a while, right? A better magnet if you already rubbed off the rust. All sadhana is rubbing off the dust. And then you become a magnet. So, these are only 2 ways by which devotion can happen. Real devotion, if it happens, bhakti, it happens either spontaneously when you get this overwhelming feeling that the joy is in the Lord, nothing else. Or when you are in contact with someone who has experienced it, it might seep in. There are no other ways. You cannot cultivate it. There is no carpentry to cultivate it. It's spontaneous. Now what happens in this? There is no distraction because one is one point only there. This is also possible. Now some people think that one needs to intellectualize and, well, yes, for some people, yes. Not for all, not required. Even if you intellectualize, the most intelligent person very soon discovers the limitations of the intellect. The average intelligent man does not discover it. He is very proud of his intelligence. But a person, who is really intelligent soon discovers the limitedness of his intelligence. Why? Sorry, I'm using so many words, but for something which no word is necessary, but because all the intellectualization that we make, all the rational framework that we set up is only based on the inputs or the data collected through our five senses. Our instruments of perception. Nobody has more than that. Now, these instruments of perception, the panchendriyas, are very limited in their inputs, very conditioned in their inputs, very colored in their inputs. And therefore, when you build up an intellectual blueprint based on the data that you gather from your five senses, it is bound to be incomplete. Because the data is incomplete, or in many cases wrong. Right? Simple. Every morning we see the sunrise. Every evening we see the sunset. You ask a small high school child, he will tell you that the sun neither rises nor sets, it's the earth that moves. But what is it that we see every day through our senses? That it is rising and it is setting. Can we trust these sense organs? How perfect are they? Okay. I'm sitting here and looking at this microphone. I'm trying to go to something which words cannot describe, or intellect, through the intellect, which is difficult. I'm just trying to, because many people think they're intellectuals. What can I do? So, I'm sitting here and looking at this. This is an oval kind of soft thing with a small tube. If I did not know it was a microphone, I would describe it as a soft ball with a long stem, right? But I know it's a microphone. And I see it in this shape. Why do I see it in this shape? Why don't I see this round as a square, or this thin thing as a fat pipe? Because that's what my eyes show me. One of my most important instruments of perception are my eyes. And why am I seeing, and you are also seeing the same thing in the same shape? Because we are all born with a certain kind of lens in our eyes. This is very simple. We are all born with a certain powered convex lens in our eyes from birth. So you and I see the same shape. What if one of you is born with a different kind of lens? If you think that is impossible, well, the common housefly has compound eyes. You know what are compound eyes? Eye made up of small eyes. You ask a biologist. Now the fly has a compound eye. How do you think it will see this microphone with a compound eye? You don't know, because you have to get into the housefly's brain and see through its eyes to know what shape it sees this microphone. If I conclude using my ordinary logic, I would say it must be seeing many microphones clustered together, compound eyes. And it will certainly believe that it is the shape. We have common kind of instruments, so we believe this is the shape. What is the actual shape of this? What I'm trying to say is that while certainly the world exists, the way it exists may be different for different creatures. How do we know how an elephant sees us? Because it has different kind of eyes. Maybe it sees us like a huge giant, which is why it's frightened. Otherwise, there's no reason it should be frightened. We are so puny in front of the elephant. Maybe its eyes are built in such a way that it sees us like big rakshasas coming and gets agitated. All I'm trying to say that the difference is as great between the optic seeing as the object seen. It's all very relative. So where is the absolute? There is an absolute. What is that? Something exists. Yes. How it exists and what? It's very relative. We don't know. So we say, let's think only about the existence, not about how it exists. And that existence is universal. You, me, this, that, everything is one existence. Don't worry about how it appears to us. This is very relative. So Turiya is that state, you can't even call it a state, is that understanding when you see everything as pure existence, Asti. And those who have gone into it have figured out that that pure existence is not a physical, material thing, but it's consciousness. It's conscious, bhati, conscious and self-effulgent. And it manifests in all living beings. Non-living beings, it doesn't manifest that way. Living beings as Priya. Now that Satchidananda is used in Vedanta, Vyasa in his Brahma Sutras, which are also called Vedanta Sutras of Vyasa, defines it as Asti Bhati Priya. Asti means that is, Bhati, it is conscious and effulgent, and it is Priya, it is that which is loved, because of which we have this thing called love. All kind, even this lower level of love, I don't want to call it lower, the love that we know, which is generally hormonal, plus the highest altruistic love where we love the whole world, even the small love between two people. We cannot even define this little love between people. How can you define that which is beyond? How can we? You can define everything, but one can't define love. Why? Somebody is ready. I'm talking about ordinary love. Simple. I'm not using the word ordinary as disparaging, but somebody is ready to run away with somebody else and jump into the well. For what? Love. Have you heard of the expression, anybody flying in love? They always fall in love. Fall. But we do it joyfully, fall. Right? There are two people, young people from college, standing in the bus stop, looking at each other's eyes for hours. What are they doing? We don't know. You ask them what is happening, अरे कुछ कुछ होता है, अभी क्या होता है? That itself we cannot define. Can we define that love? Universal love? Our brain cannot hold it. It's beyond the mind and beyond the brain. So do we touch it at all? Yes. When we are so overwhelmed that the mind refuses to work, then you're absorbed in that. This can happen through understanding. It can happen through being so selfless that the self doesn't remain anymore. It can happen through understanding. It can happen through devotion. There are many ways it can happen. But it has to happen. It is not concocted. All you can do is prepare the, what shall we call it? conditions which are proper so that it is possible that it will happen. This much we can do. Beyond that, we have no control. Therefore, the Upanishad said, Tena tyaktena bhunjita, let go and rejoice, not dependent on anything outside. So I am hoping that when you go back from here, you will go back free. Even if you go back free of Kriya, I am happy. So, the Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters, 18 adhyayas. Each chapter is called an yoga. So definitely yoga is not just doing asanas. Which means every approach to the infinite is yoga. I'm not talking about the certified yoga course in the Bharat Yoga Vidya Kendra. I'm talking about yoga as it is. So I'm hoping that when you leave here, you will all be yogis. Yogis have no outside paraphernalia. You can wear the best clothes you like, it doesn't matter. But if you know that what you seek is here, and then you can find it. Or if you know that what you seek is always there to come to you, but you're preventing it from coming. If you can open your mind to this, then you will understand all the 18 chapters of the Gita. And it is not by mistake that the first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Yoga of Arjuna's sorrow. Because it's only when something difficult happens and when some sorrow strikes that the mind begins to think about higher things. Might otherwise, if you're always hunky-dory, nobody thinks. You want happiness, yes, have a Coke. Temporary. It's only when you go through. So, but what we do, we have learned to sweep all the sorrow under the rug and not face it. This is the problem. And we adopt various ways to do that. But if we can face it and say, this is a lesson that has come to me, it's a blessing. Because then I begin to think, is there something beyond? Then I move forward. So don't be afraid of obstacles, sorrows. These are all part of life. When it happens, think this has a reason why it has come. I need to look deep into this. Like Guru Nanak said, Dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. So when dukh comes, that one begins smaran. Arey bhaiya, bacha do Bhagwan, kya ho gaya? So that till then, who cares when you carry on with life? So when it happens, don't think, oh, curse God has given. There is a reason. You are being instigated to look within yourself and find the truth. It's a blessing. Why is God so unkind to me? God is kind to me. I had my breakfast today, I'll have lunch. I have a place to lay my head, that's all you need. But what one says is, the images that I have made are not working exactly as I wanted to. Maybe it's time to change the image. There's something else coming up. Break through. So we will come back in the evening. अभी भोजन, शाम को भजन. We'll come back in the evening and then I will dwell a little bit on the connection between sadhana and what we discussed. So there were some questions that were asked when I was walking. And while walking, my brain is on my foot, so I couldn't answer properly. So I will take that also up. Somebody was chattering about it and he said, Are we meditating now? Yes. Okay, thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.